Helo a croeso i'n Myfyrdod diweddara ni yma o Eglwys Gymraeg Canol Llundain. A very warm welcome to everyone who is joining us for this, our weekly bilingual meditation from the Welsh Church of Central London. Ac fe ddechreuwn ni fel arfer gyda gair byr o weddi yn y Gymraeg i ddechrau ac yna yn Saesneg. Felly, gawn ni droi at yr arglwydd nawr mewn gweddi, cydweddiwn. Arglwydd ein Duw, creawdwr bywyd yn ei holl gyflawnder. Deiwn ger dyfron unwaith eto gan ddwyn ein moliant a chynnig ein haddoliad. Derbyn ni nawr yn enw Crist ei hun. Lord our God, creator of life in all its fullness, we come before you once more, bringing our praise and offering our worship. Accept us now in the name of Christ. Amen. Wel, yn yr efengil yn ôl Ioan, yr unfed benod ar 20, a'r ail adnod ar 20, fe welwn ni'r geiriau yma, canlyn di fi, you follow me. A dwi'n cofio clywed sôn am un o ymgyrchoedd cenhadol Billy Graham ym Mhrydain nôl yn y 50au a'r 60au. And during one of Billy Graham's great missionary preaching tours of this country, he was invited to address the Oxford Student Union. Well, a few meetings previous to his visit, a famous industrialist had spoken to the students there at the union. And at the end of his address, he'd offered good positions to any potential employees who'd like to take up his offer of work. I bet he thought he had the potential best employees in the country. Ac fe gynigodd cyflogau gwych iawn am amodau gweithio arbennig, sicrwydd i'r dyfodol a'r holl fuddiannau pensiwn posib. But in spite of all the favourable benefits and perks that this industrialist had offered the students, he went away very disappointed with the response and the take-up. Apparently very, very few showed any interest. Ac yna fe ddath ymhen ychydig wythnosau Billy Graham I anerch y gymdeithas. Now, Billy Graham, when he addressed the student union, he didn't paint a beautiful picture for them. He talked to them of hardships and the dangers awaiting anyone who was willing to take up his challenge to follow Christ on a very difficult journey. He talked of sacrifice and suffering and self-denial, and even of trying your best to love those who hate you. Wel, mae'n debyg taw dyna un o ymgyrchoedd mwyaf llwyddiannus Billy Graham yn y wlad hon erioed. Hundreds of students were affected by Billy Graham's words at that meeting, many committing themselves to a lifelong promise of service and sacrifice to Jesus. Nawr, diogalwad Iesu ddim yn alwad I fywyd esmwyth a chyfforddus, a dyw eriod wedi addo bywyd heb drafferth na gofid I ni. The call of Christ has never been a call to the easy life, nor should it be. Dwi'n meddwl yn aml am eiriau Parry Hughes wrth sôn am yr eglwys. Mae wrth gwrs yn ei emyn, ond ninnau hefyd, fel ei haelodau hi yn gynnwysiedig yn y geiriau hefyd, disg I ofni byw yn esmwyth, gan anghofio'r byd a'i loes. Yet, a life of service to Christ has its great blessings as well. Blessings offered to us that no other life or career in the world can hope to give us. Ac am ni, dyna beth welodd y myfyrwyr yn Rhydychen. Ac yn y darlleniad o Efengil Ioan, ni'n clywed Iesu yn siarad â Seimon Pedr ac yn rhoi cyfarwyddiadau iddo sut i fyw i fywyd. And in verse 21 of the reading from the 21st chapter of John's Gospel, we see Peter pointing a finger to John and asking the question, what about him? What's he going to do? And Jesus answers with these words, what is that to you? You follow me, canlyn di fi. And this is what he says to all of us in turn. Does dim ots am neb arall mewn gwirionedd yn y cyd-destun yma. Peidiwch becso am ymateb pobl eraill, canlyn di fi. Wedyn ni fe allwch I fecso am bobl eraill. The world is full of different callings, isn't it? The call to make money, that's a popular, attractive one. The call to better oneself in life, the call to serve your country and culture, the call to have a good time in general. Yes, all well and good in their place as long as they don't take over your whole life. There's the call of the flesh, but there's also the call of the Spirit. And the greatest, clearest, and most rewarding call of all is this call of Jesus. You follow me, canlyn di fi. Mae Iesu yn ein galw ni yn gyntaf I fywyd o wasanaeth. Jesus calls us to a life of service, to serve him first and then others, which will follow on. Roedd Pedr wedi gwasanaethu Iesu yn dda dros ben ar y cyfan, ond oedd a hynny ar hyd ei weinidogaeth ar y ddaear. Ond pan ddaeth yr awr fawr, do fe, yr union adeg pan roedd yr angen mwyaf, beth nath Pedr ond gwadu'r Iesu. Peter, after denying Jesus, received a second chance, a chance to make up for his mistakes, to make up amends for his failings and shortcomings, and to begin a new life of service, of renewed and even better service than he'd given before. Ac ar ôl y digwyddiad yma, mae bywyd Pedr yn cael ei wedd newid yn llwyr wedyn ni. Mae'n berson hollol wahanol. Dyw e ddim yn byw ar gyfer y byd hwn bellach, ar gyfer ei gychod, ei rwydau, ei bysgod, fel soniodd I.D. Hwsyn mor gofiadwy yn ei gerdd enwog, dy fe. Mae'n byw bellach mwyn Iesu ac mwyn gwasanaethu eraill yn enw Iesu. And in the same way as Jesus said to Peter, he says to us all, don't be content in just living for yourselves, for your own gratification and your own glorification. Come, follow me, he says. Give up your indifference and neglect of others. Let's go into the world together to help people and to glorify God in the process. Dim ond pryd hynny, only then will you find true happiness and real satisfaction in service mewn gwasanaeth. Mae lot o sôn wedi bod am fywyd o wasanaeth ac o ddyletswydd o fewn ambell deulu enwog yn ddiweddar. And with all the talk of living lives of service and duty from both sides of the Atlantic by certain members of a well-known family during the past days, this is what true service and true duty is all about. Ac nid yn unig mae Iesu yn ein galw ni I fywyd o wasanaeth, ond mae'n ein galw ni I fywyd o weddi hefyd. He also calls us to a life of prayer. Gai ofyn cwestiwn ddidwyll I chi gyd ac I fi fy hun hefyd. pa mor ddwys ac effeithiol yw eich bywyd o weddi I Dduw. Now some people, even people who say they are Christians, admit that they never pray. Others perhaps pray once in a while, perhaps when they get into trouble or things aren't going well in their lives. Some are so busy that they may only offer a little word of prayer here and there. Well, better than nothing at all, I suppose. Ond mae 'na eraill, cofiwch, sy'n byw mor agos at Dduw ac yn siarad gydag ef mor gyson ac mor amal yn union fel I bod nhw'n cynnal sgwrs rhwng dau ffrind, yna fe. That intimate, close relationship which can only develop through conversation and interaction between two people. Some, I'm sure, will say, but I seem to be doing all the talking. God never talks back. But have you tried to listen to his voice through the scriptures? Ydych chi'n darllen yr ysgrythurau gan chwilio am lais Duw ynddyn nhw? Ydych chi'n agor eich calonnau I glywed yr hyn mae Duw yn ceisio dweud wrthi ti? We also need to learn to pray another type of prayer. As well as praying for ourselves, Jesus said that we are to pray for those who hate us and who do wrong to us. Now, mae modd I ni ddysgu wers bwysig yn syth yma because our prayers may not necessarily change our enemies, but they'll certainly change us. Prayer will help us to get the hatred out of our own hearts and to look on all people from the right perspective. Roedd Iesu wedi cael ei drin yn waith ac yn fwy creulon na'r un ohonom. Ac yn waith na fyddwn ni fyth yn cael ein trin mewn bywyd, siŵr o fod. Eto I gyd, roedd e'n gallu gweddio'r weddi honno o dad, maddau iddynt canis ni wyddant, pa beth ymaint yn ei wneithir. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Yes, easier said than done, as I often say. Easier said than done. But in doing so and trying to do so, His Spirit lives in us. There are so many problems in life, aren't there? Don't try and work them out alone by yourself. Take them to the Lord in prayer. Ac yna'n olaf heddiw, ar ôl ein galw I fywyd o wasanaeth ac I fywyd o weddi, mae Iesu yn ein galw I fywyd o ymddiriedeth ynddo. After the call to a life of service and of prayer, Jesus calls us to a life of trust in Him. Trust and obey. I often quote the words of that famous Sankey and Moody hymn in my sermons, trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey. Now, I'm not talking about a blind, unquestioning kind of trust, but a trust grounded on promises and grounded on experience. Ac o ymddiried yn llwyrach yn yw, bydd y byd wedyn ni yn gweld reality ein crefydd a'n ffydd ni yn ein byw bob dydd. I'm fond of the story of an old lady who walked into a lift of a department store back in the days when there were lift boys to operate the lifts. And she was a jolly, smiling old lady with the sunshine in her face, as we say. And she said to the lift boy, "You don't get very much sunshine back here, do you?" And he answered, "Only when people like you bring it in." A dylai pobl Grist trwy ymddiriedeth ynddo fe Dwi'n heilwen a llawenydd gyda nhw ble bynnag maen nhw'n mynd. If we are trusting him implicitly, our lives can be like rays of sunshine that brighten the days for those living in darkness. A chyda'r ymddiriedeth honno, gallwn ganu wedyn ni gydag argyhoeddiad yr emyn yna ymddiried wna fy niw died ydyw'r nos, daw a'i addewid ef fel golau seren los. Mae nos a diw yn llawer gwell na golau ddydd a diw ymhell. A hynny gogoniant i'w enw. Amen.